Hey guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to make a daguerreotype. So a daguerreotype was one of the most commonly photography methods back in the 19th century. And it's usually associated with old portraits and like scenes of like the Wild West. So daguerreotypes were made by exposing the image onto a polished metal plate. And then these plates, of course, were easily tarnished and scratched. So this has become one of the main aesthetics of these really cool antique images. So in order to create that scratchy look, we're going to need a texture, and we're going to be using a website called texturelabs.org in order to mimic the appearance. All right, so one of the other characteristics of a daguerreotype was that it had a really long exposure time of about 20 seconds, which is why the subjects are mostly of people rigidly sitting and staring with blank expressions, and rarely of moving subjects. Since these metal plates were only sensitive to a blue light, usually the eyes of these old portraits also look creepy as well. So in order to create these kind of effects in Photoshop, I'm going to start with a stock photo of just a model sitting on a step right here. So here, I'm going to start right here. And one of the first things that I need to remember is to make sure that the layer is unlocked. So if it has the little lock button on it, just click and make sure that it's off. Make sure that you're on the move tool, so this way you can make some adjustments very easily, okay? So open up your photograph, get it unlocked, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down to a adjustment layer down here, and I'm going to click and I'm going to add a channel mixer. So right at this one. So the first thing we need to do is, well, it's color. So I'm going to click on the monochrome. Let's make it black and white. And remember I told you about that blue kind of weird look that they all had? Well, we see they had red, green, and blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the red, make it 0, take out the green, make it 0. But I'm going to make the blue 100 because that's what I want the most. All right. Now, the other key ingredient to a daguerreotype is the texture. So we need textures in order to create these. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to go to texturelabs.org right here. And I'm going to go down, I'm going to click on grunge because they have the best with all the scratches. I'm going to look for this dark style. So since I need something like this scratchy dark style, I'm going to come down and, and I like this one. I'm going to grab grunge 125 and I'm going to download the large. And then later on, I want to add this darkness to it. As you can see, this has got this weird darkness to it. So I'm going to grab this as well. So this is Grunge 301, and I'm going to download this as well. Now you can choose any one you want, but try to remember the scratches, okay? Now after we download them, I'll come back to our model. We need to start to replicate this texture. So the first thing I need to do is I need to embed the texture. So File, all the way down to place embed, and I'm going to find that first really scratchy texture. Now you notice it takes up almost all of the entire photograph, which is what we want. However, it's not filling up the entire thing. So I'm going to kind of drag it around and stretch it out to wherever I need. And there are, let's hit the apply button up here. And there are 3 different blend modes that really look good with daguerreotype. So your blending modes are over here. Make sure you're still on your texture. And I'm going to change the normal and I'm going to go down to screen. Look at how it brings up all these white scratches. Now, I like that, but it's a little bit too much. So the other one that looks really cool is overlay. That's a little bit too dark. Why don't I jump down to soft light? I kind of like that one because there's not that much of the bright white, and it's kind of dark and creepy, right? So I'm going to keep this one. Now, the other thing that you can do, if you haven't noticed, is you can move your texture all around. So for instance, say if I want it to hurt and not be so scratchy, I can kind of stretch this and move this around to where I don't want her to be as scratchy. Now, the other thing, don't forget you can do, is you can Control T and flip this. So if I hit the apply button, I can go to the Control T, right? So it's chosen. And then I can come up to Edit, go to Transform, and I can flip horizontal, and look how it's flipping this. So I can move this all around however I want it to look. All right, I kind of like that. So let me hit the Apply button. And let me see, I kind of want her to be, yeah, just a little bit less scratchy. All right, I'm going to keep that just like that. Now, even though we have our textures, remember we need to play with the shadows and stuff like that. So after we flip or horizontal or however you want it to be, we need to play with the levers. So I'm going to come down, make sure that my texture is chosen, and I'm going to click on another adjustment layer, but this time I'm going to go to levels. And you notice up here that the layers panel has a 3 different little markers here, and this is the shadows, the dark shadows, and this is the highlights. So one of the things about daguerreotypes is they could never get a nice dark black. So I'm going to play with these to bring them in just a little, even these, so that it's more of a gray and not a black. All right. Now once we're done with that, see how this layer is on top of the texture? I'm going to bring it down. Look how you can see the difference. I'm going to bring it down so it affects just the photograph and not her. Okay. Now, when we get done with getting these nice deep blacks in it, we can also play with the blending mode for this. So I can go to screen, I can brighten her up, I could go to soft light or even the overlay, and you can see that she's lightening up with all of the scratches. But I think I like, I kind of like the screen, so I'm going to leave this one. Now you can do another layer of texture. So remember we downloaded 2. I'm going to go grab that one, and I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go Embed, and then I'm going to get the darker one. And you'll notice that it pops up the same exact way on top of everything. Let's stretch it so it fits. And then hit the Apply. And then just like before, let's change the blending mode so we can see this. I'm going to bring it down to, let's do, I kind of like soft light on this one. But you can also change the opacity on this as well. Let's lower this just a little bit. There. Okay. Now I have the opacity down to about 60%, right? Now one of the other really cool things, let's look at our image, is it's got this brown sepia tone to it. And if you notice, there's this gradient map here and a layer of a gradient map underneath the same texture that we just did. So let's come back. I have my second texture, and I'm going to come down to the adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to gradient map. Now look what it did. It made it really dark. All right, now let's click on the gradient right here. Click on it, and you'll see that it pops up a gradient editor. All right, now one of the things you could instantly do is start to choose some of these different gradients. Okay, well, that's really not what I want, right? So let's go to, no, I'm not liking that one. All right, so I'm going to go back to basics, and I'm going to come back to what we basically had, right? And I'm going to change the colors by clicking on this little marker, and you'll see the color pops here. If you click on this, you can change it. So I'm going to drag it down here to get a nice dark brown. Right about there. Okay, I want to click OK. And I'm going to do the same thing to this, but now this one, I want it to be this creamy brown. So I'm going to come to here and make it pretty creamy. All right, now she looks really creepy, right? So let's hit OK. And do you remember how we changed the blending to either soft, maybe there's the overlay. You can use soft lighting, and then you can play with the opacity as well. Now, I'm going to drag this down underneath the layer, so this way it's on just that texture grunge. And now you can kind of see I have this nice brown, scratchy, creepy looking daguerreotype. So I hope you enjoyed our lesson, and I'll see you next time.